let's just talk about LibGen. If people aren't familiar with it, it stands for Library Genesis, and it's a site that is well known for pirating books. Specifically, textbooks is where it got started from. And we just want to say that we do not endorse the pirating of books, textbooks or otherwise. But the bigger issue is not so much the pirating, but who's doing the pirating. The Atlantic released an article um, that Meta, of all people, has been scraping LibGen. I believe the amount I saw was 81.7 terabytes of pirated books to train their AI. Their AI Llama, like Llama 3 or something,
Yeah.
but um doing quick math, like ebooks are like a couple of megabytes. So that means they pirated, and textbooks probably a little longer
Hmm.
or a little bigger. Like that's like somewhere between like 40 and 80 million books that they just completely bypassed copyright on because it was faster, cheaper, uh, more efficient.
Hmm.
So let's talk about that. That's some fucked up shit. Like they just completely disregarded what authors have signed for, their copyright laws. Take it away.
I have a fun fact about that, which makes it even like more fucked up, which is that they actually, and this is, I believe, also in the article that the Atlantic posted, that they tried to go through like the legal way, and they contacted a publisher to see like how much the rights to train their AI like on it would be and everything. And they said that it was too expensive, which I mean, it's Meta, and Meta throws money through a lot of shit. So I don't really
Mhm.
think it was too expensive for them. But the most insane part is that they also said that it was going to take too long, like in their internal communications that were
Yeah, wasn't it like
posted.
4 weeks
It
or
was
something like
four
that?
weeks, 4.5 weeks. They were like, oh no,
Oh,
it's so long. Absolute tragedy. I can't deal with it. It's 4.5 weeks.
It's 4.5 weeks.
And it was even like it wasn't something that was done like under the radar by a specific team that is only working in this and everything. Mark Zuckerberg, wow, words are hard. Mark Zuckerberg was contacted and he gave his approval for it. And in those internal communications, there's even things that say like this could become a legal liability. So we need to make sure that we are removing things like copyright pages, ISBN numbers, anything that says like ISBN, even like anything that could indicate that they are committing a crime. So it's like if you didn't know you were committing a crime, why are you trying to cover your ass while saying like, hey, since we are committing a crime, we need to make sure that we are trying to not get caught. I hate these people. I hate these people so
and let's also remind people that so Meta is probably facing at best a slap on the wrist, maybe a class action lawsuit where they're going to pay everyone 2,500 bucks. There's a man named Aaron Swartz who is facing 35 years in prison and financial devastation to the average individual for trying to download and open the contents of uh, JSTOR. I'm not entirely certain how to pronounce that. He ended up taking his own life. However, Meta, OpenAI, all these other groups, they're just illegally scraping all this academia. They can make billions by plagiarizing it, and that's cool because they're AI. Let's be real here. They're using this to train the Meta AI. Who the hell uses the Meta AI?
they
Oh,
become
I see
so
people use
desperate.
it.
No,
Yeah.
it's
Llama
like, oh, let me recap this post for you.
I have seen people use it for like generating stuff, like images. I think it can do image generation or something.
Oh
And
my
like
God, people probably
Instagram
generate Facebook posts with that.
Instagram has um AI companions where you can like make an AI person and talk with it.
So I don't know if the differentiation has been made there. When they say meta, is it meta? Let's be real. When we talk about meta, we think about Facebook. So was it just primarily Facebook that did it, or is this for Facebook and Instagram? I don't
I would
know if that
assume
was
both.
ever clear.
I would
Um,
assume
but
both.
but Facebook is much more heavily integrated with Llama or whatever the hell it is, Llama 3 than Instagram is. Instagram does have some AI features, but I don't know if they are one and the same.
Llama 3 is such a weird name for your AI.
They're all stupid names. Llama
They're all
3,
weird.
Grok. Like what are we doing
Grok.
here? Like Grok is by far the dumbest. You
Grok
heard
is
me,
really
Elon.
funny. That's like a D&D character. It's like
It
an
is.
orc or
Do
like a
not
goblin.
disrespect D&D.
Oh,
No,
Elon wouldn't know what to do with the D&D character. He'd die in the tutorial.
he would.
Hell yeah.
But like my point more so is to make fun of the AI. It would
Yeah.
be a great D&D character name. Um, but it doesn't my point in saying that is it doesn't really give off the energy of like AI. Um, and like it's just it's so frustrating, because textbooks, if you look locally for them, are not always that expensive. Like
Well,
the
that
bookstore near my college, you can buy textbooks for $5 each. Doesn't matter how big it is.
I mean, it
so
really
the
does depend because the textbooks that I needed for college were $200.
Yeah.
So that is a completely different issue that I don't
Yeah,
know if we are qualified to talk about because
Yeah.
that is a fucking scam because they will
that
rewrite a
is a
paragraph,
fucking scam.
rearrange a chapter so they can release a
Yep.
new issue, and then teachers have to say, "Hey,
Yep.
use this new issue," or they get paid to say, "Use this new issue." And we're off topic, but that's a scam. Don't buy
Yeah.
college textbooks at full price. Um,
Yeah.
but so getting back to Meta, they are claiming that their scraping of all this content falls under the fair use defense. Um, do you know what else falls under the fair use defense? Like this is as close as they get to a legal claim. It's fan fiction. So is Meta just writing fan fiction now? Is that what they're claiming?
So
I
what they're
love
gonna
that.
do is they're gonna steal all these books and then amalgamate them into one big
Yeah,
fanfic.
they're just gonna
That
change the name each time. It's fine.
yeah. They'll just keep,
And then sell them for $200
Yeah.
like
yeah,
textbook.
Yeah, I mean they're
it's
clearly benefiting financially from this,
yes.
whereas most fan fiction writers do not,
Nope.
especially the ones that stick very close to like the actual subject matter.
Mm-hmm.
So it just like how is this fair use? Like how is there
That's
such limited legal consequences against this when they are plagiarizing millions, if not more, authors?
I
and
think
that's
the issue is that we don't have legal precedents for AI yet. That
And
stuff doesn't exist because it's so new.
I mean, we
Um,
do have copyright laws, but we are continuing to adjust the copyright laws. And I
yes.
know in the UK, they're going through something where they're trying to make it even easier for AIs to scrape written works.
Yeah, which is
So we are on this continuously slippery, progressively more slippery slope of what is getting scraped by AI, who is allowing it, why it's being allowed. And quite frankly, it doesn't really like if you're unfamiliar, like an AI does not actually do anything except regurgitate facts, thoughts, feelings that someone else has said. So essentially,
yep.
all we're doing is letting it regurgitate more things that it did not come up with and pretending that we have done something creative.
And that's the thing with like fair use. Like there are layers that I am obviously not a legal expert, but for example, the use of fair use as like the legality of it within transformative content with fanfics, for example. People that write fan fiction still are not allowed to like get any monetary gain from the actual things that they are writing because that would infringe with the intellectual property of the person that created the world, the characters, and all of that. And it has been before, like 50 Shades of Grey and like all of these other books that were fanfics, and in order for them to even be able to become published books. They had to go through like very big transformations, changing character names, changing settings, like rebuild the world, and sometimes taking away a lot of identifying things. For example, like again, 50 Shades of Grey, for the people that don't know, was originally a fan fiction for Twilight, and there's no vampires in the end version because of that. And transformative content, just as far as I understand, I know for use mostly like for YouTube, not so much for like written word, but it also has, you have to prove that what you are using, the thing that is copyrighted, is just as a reference, or it's something that you are kind of like coming from that and creating your own entire thing, and that the thing that you are creating and you're making, using that as like the beginning of either the conversation or the product or anything, is strong enough on itself to be an entirely different thing. Which is why, for example, like song parodies are legal, and like all of those things, and like sampling and all of that. And another thing from like the whole legality of like all of this like for you stuff and everything, is that you have to, the thing that you make has to be percentually substantially more than the thing that you are taking from, which is, I believe it's like a 10-90 or like 20-80 kind of like percentage. With this is not what they're doing, and they're not, to be honest, transforming anything, because AI doesn't have the capabilities of like actually creatively transform and create something from scratch. It just takes Frankenstein's, like what Tim was saying, this paragraph from this a published author book and this other paragraph from this other published author book, and they just merge them together. It's like you, if you were grabbing one movie and then like another movie, like little shorts, and then you're kind of like putting them together. They don't have a particular reason of why you're not trying to send a message or anything. You're literally just fucking Frankensteining the shit out of everything. And even if it did fall under fair use, which I don't believe it does personally, because they're also going like significantly going to grow monetarily because of that, it is still illegal to pirate stuff. Like that's the most, people back in the day when we had to use dial in internet and everything, we were trying to download pirated music through LimeWire and email and stuff like that. People
Hmm.
were getting in legal trouble for torrenting one song.
Well,
So like,
let's let's just point out another hypocrisy here that Mark Zuckerberg was friends with I'm drawing it as like Sean, the guy that Justin Timberlake played in the Facebook movie, uh, who founded Napster, which from the Napster generation, I get the irony here. Um,
Hmm.
Napster was the original illegal streaming site.
that
Yeah.
is so true.
Hmm.
I need you
That
to
is
come
Well,
up
so
with that
true.
guy's name. It's driving me nuts.
but there's also like I think this is might be so for my generation that you wouldn't download a car advertisement that came out and how
Sean Parker, that was it.
Sean
Sorry.
Parker, yeah. And how kind of ridiculous that was. Because it came a lot on kids' DVDs. You would have this like PSA from the
Giant
government.
FBI warning on the front.
Well, you
Yeah.
have the FBI warning, but you'd also have this ad that would come, this PSA, and it would be like, you wouldn't download a car. So don't you wouldn't steal, so don't steal
I mean,
movies. And then everything that my generation remembers is like the times, we'll joke about you wouldn't download a car, because it's the way that they spun it was so funny that it didn't feel like they were taking it seriously.
speaking of taking it seriously, like here is I have this highlighted on my screen. I need to read it because every time I look at it, it makes me mad. This is part of the article about this from Wired.com.
Mhm.
Meta's argument hinges on the claim that its plaintiffs already knew about LibGen use and should be granted additional time to file a third amended claim when had ample time to do so before the discovery ended in December 2024. Plaintiffs knew of Meta's downloading use of LibGen and other alleged shadow libraries since at least the mid-July 2024, the tech giant's lawyer argues. So basically saying because these people knew that LibGen was a thing, they should not get to amend their lawsuit. They should this lawsuit should be thrown out because no one has sued LibGen, which for a little bit of clarity is out of Russia, which makes it really fucking hard to sue when
Right.
you're an American. The two countries don't typically get along, haven't gotten along in, several decades. Um, so it's just they're trying to make it seem like the author's like, oh well, these people are, they're suing now because Meta's using it and Meta's a ton of money. Yeah, well, the people who downloaded before were probably kids who didn't have any money. What's the point in suing them? Like, I'm sure they would have rather had their work purchased legally, but I would be willing to bet there's so many academics out there who are so excited to just have someone be interested enough to read their book that they're like, all right, well, maybe this 18-year-old in whatever city downloaded my book. That's super cool. Would they have rather had, the $5 that they would have gotten from an actual sale? Yes, I'm sure they would have. But to say that this lawsuit is not valid because they knew about these pirate sites is just such a cop out and such bullshit. And it drives me nuts because the worst part is we can talk about this. People can file these petitions. People can file these lawsuits. We know Meta's going to get away with this.
A
Mhm.
1,000,000%,
Mhm.
which is the most frustrating part of
Well,
everything.
and let's be honest, I didn't know what LibGen was until this got brought up. I had
Yeah.
no clue. You know how
Nope.
many authors who are probably on there who have no clue that their stuff is on there because they didn't know what LibGen was?
So
Like it's not like, the authors who are coming at Meta aren't just like, oh, we just discovered this today, but there are so many authors who have gone, oh, I didn't even know my books had been pirated. I couldn't even take my own action, and now you're you stealing it to make it regurgitate through an AI.
yeah. Let's talk about that for a second because LibGen is historically been for academia, textbooks, that stuff, but there's everything on there.
Yeah.
And The Atlantic actually has a search tool where you can see who is on there. You can search by, I think it's just by author name. So
You can also
Beatrice,
search by book name.
book name. All right, well, Beatrice, you had the thing ready to go. Pull it up.
Okay,
All right.
let's see. Let's see if it actually searches by book name by one of my favorite books ever. Oh, it's by author name. What's the
Yeah,
name of the author
yeah.
from The
Search for an
Violent
author.
Delights? Can I get the book, please? I am asking my assistant. In the meantime, let's look for one of my favorite actors ever, which has 200 results, including shit translated into other languages, which is absolutely
And
insane.
you gotta wonder, like for like a person like Branden Sanderson, like I'm
Oh,
sure
Chloe
he
Gong.
he cares to some extent, but at the
Mm-hmm.
same time, like
Yep.
that man's a millionaire several times over. Like, is he that concerned that he is going to help with this lawsuit? Because I mean, if some of these big time authors can get in there and start filing suit, then Meta will probably have to listen if for no other reason than, you know, be willing to bet Brandon Sanderson has a lot of money. He can throw out some lawyers.
Is that all of Stephen King's work?
Uh, I would say that
Almost.
No.
Stephen King probably has more books than that,
Yeah,
but
but still,
a
that's
lot. And
basically
it's again
everything.
That's a
in a
lot.
lot of different languages. We have English, Spanish, Dutch, Romanian, Turkish, which is like it's just so fucked up in so many other levels. Guys, give me another name.
Do
You have mentioned Leigh Bardugo before.
Yeah, Lee Bardot, or I
Leigh
think that's
Bardugo.
Six of Crows.
I say that with the Spanish pronunciation, so I have no idea what's the correct
Yeah,
way.
the Familiar, Ninth House, Six
All of them.
Crows. Yeah.
I
Uh,
can give you
All of
one
the
that might be a
Christians.
little less known. Yep, there's this
Remember.
that's my favorite book series. But not as many people are aware of her work. Um
Gafford? That's the way that you definitely know. O'Connor. I forgot the way to. I'm so sorry. I'm
but so
terrible with
the moral of the story is that there are authors, big, small, from academia, from fiction, from nonfiction,
Whatever.
from everywhere. There are millions of different authors in
Yep.
here. Um, Small authors, big authors, well known, not well known. Everyone is affected by this essentially. Like it almost feels like if you have published at some point, you are most likely in this list.
And it's like it's not even only like authors that are from the US. This is, for example, one author that I worked creating book covers for, which is a like Spanish speaking author that has been both self-published and traditional published. And there's six of her books there. So
Yeah.
it's not only it's what you say, it's not only affecting the big people that have the money, it's affecting every author, like most of every author. Like it's affecting every author that has ever had their book pirated ever.
Yep.
And that I would dare to say would include authors that literally are not getting any type of money for their books because there's authors from platforms like Wattpad, like Tapas, like so many other ones that are mostly platforms that do not require like any login to go in and everything. You can just scrape data from them very easily. Those have been pirated as well historically because it has happened to my personal friends. Those are also affected by that. It's like it's like they're not even getting money from it, not even a cent if someone reads them because they never published it in the first place,
Beatrice,
and
stop
still
sharing your
Meta is
screen.
getting money. And Meta's still getting money from it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Sorry, I got to
I know you really got into the moment.
It's just so frustrating and it's just so fucked up on the fact that they're just doing it to exploit
Well, and the
their
root
work and then create their competitors that are going to even affect these authors even more. Because that's the thing, they're going to use this to write the bullshit regurgitation that they call books.
Hmm.
and I mean there is also this awesome layer of irony that LibGen is actually blocked by a number of internet providers.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, because you're
Yeah.
like illegally downloading
Hmm.
shit.
Well,
Yeah.
and then I mean also I sent you guys a screenshot. I just Googled is something about LibGen, and one of the people also asked things on Google was is LibGen legal, or excuse me, is LibGen illegal? And I just found the it was just sweet poetic justice that the Google AI then told me that yes, using LibGen to download copyrighted material is generally considered illegal because it involves the unauthorized distribution of copyrighted works, which violates international copyright laws. So
It's just ironic there.
even the Google AI is like, yeah, that's bad. Don't do that. And I mean, I know we've said a lot of things here, and I don't want to dissuade people from trying to take action on this, but signing petitions has never really solved anything. Let's be honest here. I know has created some changes, but typically that's not going to move the needle, especially when it comes to giant billion-dollar corporations, trillion-dollar corporations. Like people need to take actions into their own hands. They need to join lawsuits more so than they need to sign petitions. And I am not a legal expert by any stretch of the imagination. But at the same time, authors need to start taking additional steps, and publishers honestly need to start taking additional steps to protect author rights, protect these copyrights that have been legally granted and illegally violated by Meta. I believe it's been insinuated that OpenAI has done the same thing because it's too hard to do it any other way. I'm sure, knowing our friend Elon, I'm willing to bet Grok has probably done something shady. Um, I don't even know what other ones are out there. Who knows what I think DeepSeek actually trained on OpenAI, so they're all training on illegal materials, and it's become the point like so we are violating all these people's rights. We are violating, the sanctity of their art. We are depriving them of dollars for what? For people to be able to ask Chat GPT questions, for people to get the recaps of Microsoft or Meta posts and build themselves AI avatar, like what is so good that's going to come out of this that is worth violating the sanctity of this creation?
Nothing. People just think that AI
They
is going to solve all of their
they
problems.
don't respect the sanctity of the creation to begin with.
Yeah.
Yep.
They don't
You know,
respect, they don't see it as something that shouldn't be violated. They just see it as a lot of these people from these big corporations see the world just a means to an end, and the end is
Yeah.
usually just getting more money
Yeah.
and getting richer.
Yeah. The dollar's what's going to talk. So unless we can figure out how to hit these people where it counts, which is the wallet and the bank account, they're not going to stop. And the government's not going to stop because they see the money from Meta. I mean, Mark Zuckerberg having dinner with Donald Trump, all the oligarchs just chill with each other and help each other out. It's until authors, which are generally kind of a maligned group in terms of quote celebrities, um, can figure out a way to really punch back. What's going to stop them?
I feel
right
like
now, nothing.
at least something that we could do as a society, I guess, as like, like want to put my grain of sand in everything is to like if you are someone that historically parrots fiction books, for example, like don't. There are, and I was talking about it like a little bit offline, there are very, very difficult like conversations to go about this because not everyone has the acquisition power to actually purchase new books,
Mhm.
especially like new titles or like, hardcover selections or anything, or even ebooks, which have historically been cheaper than paperback books, are now becoming more expensive as well. People use your local libraries.
Hmm.
Like it's such and like untapped resource, and right now our libraries needs us. Oh my God, I only have my marketing glasses. I don't have like a hat of like inspiration. But our libraries needs us more than ever, especially right now because they are being so massively defunded, and they are such an important resource for keeping communities alive. There is, I don't know if people know that, but library cards are usually either free or very inexpensive in comparison to like purchasing individual books. And you don't even have to go to these places most times in order to get it. You can get a library card online. You could also get ebooks and audiobooks and
Hmm.
DVDs and movies and a
Yep.
lot of things from your local library. You can even do it on your phone. There's an app called Libby, Overdrive. All of those tools are there to provide you access to the things that you want to read, to the your loving authors that you really want to support and consume. And authors do actually get money from when you borrow books from libraries. Like those, they have statistics of like which books are borrowed at what amount and everything. And they have a budget that is limited, but that exists, that maybe they purchase more books, so there are more copies available. Like authors do benefit from you supporting your local library, because I know that a lot of people are saying like, yeah, no, but because like I wanted to support this person. You're not gonna support them and you're pirating their books. Like
Hmm.
that's not how you're going to help this author that you really like. Go there, use their rooms. A lot of libraries have like study rooms or like meeting rooms that you can just go there and like go with your computer. You can go read there. You can go volunteer. You can donate your old books. There's so many ways that we can help the people that maybe cannot afford like $40 for like a hardcover edition of something that they really want, still be able to access the things without having to recur to pirating things. And a lot of people are not aware of this, so that's why I'm like kind of like going through all this whole spiel. A lot of people say that they don't find new books in their library, and that's the reason why they have to pirate it, blah, blah, blah. Check maybe other states. Maybe if like there's a county that's adjacent to yours that you can also get a library card, because every library has like a different assortment of books. There are so many, 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 many ways that you can still legally like read the things that you want to read, borrow the things that you want to read, still support authors, support your community in the process, and help make this a more livable space. There's not a lot that we can do in terms of legality, in terms of like money, in terms of like all of those things, but at least supporting them and at least not creating the demand that parenting books like contracts as like an offer and start dwindling that down does make a significant difference in the long run if we are all putting a little bit of like our grain of sand. Same thing with like stop consuming things that are vouched by these people that suck and the oligarchs and like the big things, and stop giving your money to, I don't know, meta people that buy like the verified badges, like all of those things. People usually say, oh, I'm not going to do it because one person's not going to make the difference, and then everyone thinks like that and then nothing happens. So yeah, support your local libraries, please.
I do
I
want to touch on
beg.
that real quick. I don't think every library system works the way you described. I don't, I think it varies by country on if the author gets actually money per checkout or if they buy, the library has to buy like a license for the book and
Yeah,
then the
I'm
author
not
gets royalty from that.
sure how it works in other countries. It's still, from what I understand, does benefit authors more than the
Oh, it
pirating.
100% benefits
Yeah.
them more from pirating. But
Obviously, what would benefit the author more if like you buy the most expensive
yeah.
edition of their book?
Actually, I believe what if you do want to support your library, I believe, and I was just doing some fast research here. Ebooks, when a library purchases an ebook, it can only be lent X amount of times before it has to be repurchased from the distributor, which is when the author would get the kickback, the royalties, whatever. And those license for ebooks are also significantly more. Like we would pay like $1.99. Your library may pay like $65 because they're going to rent it out 10,000 times or whatever. So, yes, there are definitely ways to support your favorite authors more so than pirating the books. That is objectively the worst way to do it because libraries can at least track like, hey, this book has been checked out 45 million times. They can get kick that back to the publisher. The publisher like, oh shit, this person's book is really good. Let's have them write more books. And they might not be getting direct finance or financial compensation, but in the long run, the information about how many people are checking out their books is beneficial. So yes, don't pirate. Go to your library, support your library. Whenever the millages come up to give the libraries more money, give the libraries more money.
Yeah, and I think another thing that a lot of authors would agree with is that even just using libraries supports authors as a whole
Hmm.
and provides that sense of community that authors really need to thrive. Sometimes word of mouth is the best thing you can do for an author. You can say, "Oh, I read this book at the library. Let me suggest it to my other friends. We can go to the library and take it out. We can all read it." I think, supporting, I know that, we as a capitalist society really think that supporting an author means giving them money. And now some authors do want the money, but other authors are just like, you're sharing my book, you're reading it, that's amazing. That's all I want. So supporting your favorite authors can also mean that kind of uplifting support that isn't necessarily money,
Yeah.
but is
Well,
sharing their
and I'll
their
also
work.
think about it from this sense. Like if you go to the library and you see a copy of a book that looks like it's beat up because so many people have read it, you might be more inclined to pick that book up. And then if you read it, you're like, oh, this is really good. I want to read the rest of this person's stuff. Then you might purchase a book by
Hmm.
that author. Maybe you really like that book, you're going to purchase that book. So just by reading someone's book at a library, you could entice someone else to read it, potentially buy it, and it is it's a cycle that could eventually lead to the author of financial conversations, which you believe that author really, really wants and really, really needs. It could
Hmm.
lead to that. So use your goddamn library.
That is exactly how I acquire my proudest possession, the special edition of Going Gong's Romeo and Juliet retelling These Violent Delights and Our Violent Ends, because I listen to the audiobooks. You can get audiobooks through your library too. Through my library, through the Libby app, on my phone, and I love them so much. And then I bought the special edition guess what? It didn't cost me any money to listen to those, but I wanted to support the author monetarily in ways that I was capable of at the moment. And I bought this thing. And I'm proud of it because they are some of my favorite books. Everyone got happy. My library was very happy. Chloe Gong, I hope she's very happy. And then I'm very happy because I found this thing that I really liked. Another thing that I wanted to say is that even if you don't want to borrow things, some libraries, and that depends on country slash state slash whatever, they do a lot of like sales for used books. And that is the only books that I have right now have been through those sales, and some of them are like books that are $1. Or I think it's children's books, for example, in mine is 25 cents, and it's books that have been donated to the library, and then they try to sell them for as cheap as possible, and all of that goes towards funding the library and making sure that
Mhm.
they're staying alive. That is another like good way if you want to actually own books but still support your library, still support local bookstores that a lot of the times do that as well. Look for those sales. They are, I didn't know it was as frequent, but they happen more than you think. It just takes a little bit of Googling or just asking around. And I have yet to meet a librarian that is like not one of the most like genuinely nice people ever. Like every single time I go to any library in any state that I have been in, it's been two, but still they're so nice. They're so like open to explain to you how the whole process worked, give you so many alternatives of like all of the things that you want to do. And they love the same things that you do. They love books as well. They love providing people with access to this wonderful world of creativity. So maybe give them a call. Ask them what's up. They are going to like the love. Maybe volunteer one day. Maybe get to know them. Maybe you can do more than what you think that you can do and you don't know because you never ask. Please.
Yeah. So we've kind of gone on a bit of a winding path here. We started with meta, and now we're at support your local libraries, which are both important topics. So I think we probably wrap it up here. And I think the big reminder is make sure to hold these giant tech bros accountable, whether it's tech bros like Meta or Twitter, or if you use called X, whether it's your your local government, whether it's your local corporation. We need to make sure that they are held accountable to the laws as well. Um, like Beatrice said, everyone's only one person, but when all the one people get together, we make a lot of people. So do your best to make sure any contracts you sign prevent AI scraping. I think it's was a Penguin Random House that had it inserted into their new author contracts. They got a lot of money. They can throw money at the lawyers to go fight Meta. Um, so make sure you do that. Put your stuff behind a password because the bots can't get in there. Um, do what you can to protect yourself. And honestly, just if you don't have a need for it, don't use AI. Don't use it for
Yeah.
anything. Any other thoughts?
Support your local libraries. They need it now more than ever.
Yes. We might talk
Yes.
about that in a later episode.
And support your local bookstores. Because if
Yes.
you are someone who likes to buy books new, paying your local bookstore is giving back to not only the author, but the community you live in.
This is true.
Those are seriously important. Even if you're buying thrifted books, supporting your local community is going to keep authors alive.
All right. Well, on that note, thank you for joining us on Publishers Behaving Badly. And remember, it's not you, it's
It's
them.
them.